Hello, is the Sinister Gambino here with a new video. In this video, I'm going to be doing a vehicle review and guide on the Enus Paragon R and the Enus Paragon R Armored. So to start off, the price for the regular one's $905,000. And by the way, the Armored one's free, and I'll be going into that one later. As for the performance of the vehicle, it is 7th place in terms of lap time, and for top speed, it's in 10th place. And it gets pushed back a single place, putting into account one of the non-raceable options in the sports class, being the Enus ZR380, because we're having all the weapons and stuff like that. It's not a raceable option. And the other non-raceable option in the class is the Paragon R Armor, actually, and credit goes to Bruffy 1322. Onto the Paragon R Armored, it's actually a free vehicle, so you obtain it by completing all 6 of the casino story missions, so you will sadly need a casino penthouse in order to unlock this vehicle if it's not really something you want to invest into for any reason. But yeah, once you complete all 6 of the casino story missions for the first time, it will spawn in the docks. I believe we do have to host them as well, so you can't just join people's and get it. That's how you obtain the vehicle. It's the only obtainable way to get the vehicle, and you get it for free for that method. And as for the armored versions, machine guns actually come stock, so... But yeah, aside for that, I believe when I compared the footage of the regular and the armored Paragons, they both had 25 customization options, and all their options within the like hoods and whatnot were exactly the same. So I just include the customizations of the armored version since they were pretty much the same. And the customizations for the vehicles are actually quite decent. Onto the performance of the Paragon R Armored. It actually places worse in lap time and top speed than the regular Paragon R, which kind of shocked me because I think most armored vehicles, believe it or not, actually place better than their regular counterparts. But for lap time, if I didn't mention it earlier, it's only 1 placement under for lap time. It's like 8th place in lap time instead of 7 for whatever I mentioned earlier. And then it falls like 7 places below in top speed. It's like 17th place, and that's including like putting into account the non-raceable options. Speaking of non-raceable options between the 72 sport vehicles, the Armored Paragon R is one of 2 non-raceable like options. So most, if not all, types of races you're not going to be able to do with the Armored Paragon R. So if you're wanting to get this vehicle, don't really put like performance into account. And then I just showed off the awards, by the way, because you can get like about like 1.1, like around there to like 1.2 mil from those rewards. That can basically make the customizations free as well, so you can turn into like an entirely free vehicle if you really want to. In this clip, I decided to show off that you can indeed use pretty much all your drive-by weapons, like with pretty much all the 2015, like 2016 kind of armored vehicles, which this is heavily based on. And here I wanted to show off you can actually go in passive mode even though this is a weaponized vehicle, which is quite ironic. And then the minigun test, sadly it doesn't really survive much in terms of the minigun. To be fair, I did shoot the engine part, but like where else would I really care to shoot it? And then it takes 2 RPGs, just like the executive and other criminal and finance and felony armored vehicles pretty much, so it is heavily based on those like I mentioned again. And it actually takes 5 explosive sniper rounds, it seems, to destroy it. And then onto the bullet resistant glass test here. I believe it takes around like a whole like thing of 15 to 16 like ammo. So I had to show it off with like a combat pistol or something like that. So yeah, it did take 16 shots in order to destroy the window. I believe it's the same as well, of course, for the side windows and whatnot as well. But yeah, I'll keep the footage in here, of course, so that there's confirmation that the side and the front windows do indeed take the same amount of ammo, pretty much. And then last but not least, I just wanted to show off against this one of the CEO spawnable armored vehicles, which I believe was like a Nassetti armored or something like that. That only took like 3 seconds to destroy it, so that means pretty good when it comes to destroying regular vehicles as well, as long as they're shooting out like the engine. And then finally, in terms of contact mission, this vehicle's okay, I would say. I would honestly say this might be better more for contact missions than VIP works, in my opinion. especially in ones like Rooftop Rumble and whatnot, where for the most part you're only really having to be focused on a single area. But of course, since your bullet resistant class is going to eventually break quite quickly, since it only takes like 16 shots in order to destroy it, at least with a pistol, you're going to run into problems really quickly. So I kind of had to take some cover and whatnot, and like kind of not initiate with enemies. I also had to kind of keep my distance quite the time as well, so as long as you do that, it can be okay for contact missions. But there's definitely a lot better options for contact missions and also VIP work, which I will go into more details on later. Onto the pros and cons of the regular and Armored Paragon R between the two different variants. I came up with 30, I believe. So starting with the regular variants, that's one I went over first, of course. Between the 4 pros, the first one is that it has slightly better lap time and decentest top speed than the armored counterpart, whereas it was like 7th place in lap time compared to 8th place with the armored variant, which isn't much of a difference, but it's something at least. And then for top speed, it's in like 10th place compared to like 17th place. That one's a lot bigger of a jump for top speed compared to lap time between the two different variants. Going to the second pro. This is for both variants actually, but I will bring it up again for the Armored Paragon R later on, is that it has amazing customizations, and I don't recall noticing any differences whatsoever for customizations. If anything, there might be some like limited like variants that were like exclusive to the Armored Paragon R for like the Diamond program or whatever, but besides for that, I don't really think there was any sort of differences. For the third pro, I put it is raceable, and I put that one on there because the Armored Paragon R is one of the 2 sport vehicles in the game actually that are not raceable options. The other one being the Enus ZR380, that one's another sport vehicle that cannot be raced with in most, if not like all races, aside for like arena war kind of races through one of the like arena war modes or whatever. But yeah, for the 4th and final pro I came up with for the regular Paragon R, I put it does not need to be unlocked, meaning it's more accessible initially. Of course, when you eventually get the Paragon R armored, you can kind of take that pro away, I would say. And when it comes to that particular vehicle, the regular Paragon R, that was kind of all I could think of personally for pros. And then for cons, I came up with 5 for the regular Paragon R, so I came up with one more con than I did a pro. But first con is it's not free, unlike the armored counterpart. The con of that, of course, is you have to unlock the Armored Paragon R, but I would rather get a vehicle for free than having to pay for it. Especially when the free one's the armored variant, compared to the one you have to pay for being a regular variant. Onto the next con, I put it is expensive for what you get. Only reason I put that one on there is because, for example, there's a vehicle, of course, that's in the sports class. From like the Doomsday Heist, I think it's the Pariah to be particular. That one's like top tier in its class, and it's only like a few 100,000 more than the Paragon R, so you might as well save like a few, like 100,000 more for like the stock vehicle, and then of course later on customize it, and it will have a much better option for the sports class than the regular Paragon R. So yeah, it's kind of expensive for what you get, even at a little less than $1 million in my opinion. Third con I have for the regular Paragon R is it doesn't have unique customizations unlike the Kuruma. The regular Kuruma compared to the armored Kuruma, for example, I do have a review on that vehicle and the armored one as well, by the way. The regular Kuruma had like a roll cage, whereas the armored one did not, and it had some other option I believe as well that the armored one did not. The customizations between these two vehicles are pretty much just about the same, aside for like maybe a livery or two, like I mentioned earlier. Which yeah, it's nice if you don't want to get the like regular one over the armored one, obviously. But if it had unique customizations going for it, it would at least give a slight bit more incentive to get the vehicle. Even though it doesn't really have much, I would say personally, to even go for it to begin with. As for the next con I have, is it has barely any improved lap time over the armored counterpart. Like I mentioned, the armored counterpart's 8th place compared to like 7th place in lap time with the regular variant, so you're only going 1 place up with lap time compared to the armored variant. So do keep that in mind when going for these vehicles, though to be fair, you really shouldn't go for performance for the armored variant, but still, for the sakes of the pros and cons list, I will be bringing things up with performance. And yet a final con for the regular Paragon R is it does not have machine guns. And it could have easily done machine guns on the regular version as well. Though to be fair, that would kind of make less point of the armored variant, because for example, in like the Doomsday Heist DLC, there's quite a few vehicles that are kind of like regular-ish looking vehicles that have like machine guns. Things like the Viserys, the Revolter, and like the Sylvestra, for example. Those couple vehicles from that up there, like regular civilian vehicles with machine guns slapped on them. And I believe those ones even you can race with as well. This kind of like makes the armored one not so good in the fact it can't race just because it has like the machine guns on it. But yeah, speaking of the armored variant, time to go into the armored variant. And the first pro I have for the armored variant is it's a free vehicle. However, you do have to unlock it as a reward for completing all 6 casino story missions. I believe it has to be as host as well. So yeah, you will get it for free, but it does require quite a time investment. But still, I would rather have a free vehicle than one that costs. Second pro is one that's shared with the regular variant, by the way, and it has amazing customizations, which I already went into that one. So next pro is that customizations can be mostly paid for with the Diamond Casino Resort rewards. Like I mentioned earlier, I believe you get like 1.1 to like 1.2 million through like all the Diamond Casino Resort rewards. Or awards, of course. And I believe if it's actually 1.1, 1.2 million, you might actually be able to fully pay for the customizations. Just to be safe though, I said mostly, but it could be an entire customizations as well you could pay for with the award money. Depends on what you invest into, of course. And before I go on any further with the pros and cons list, how does this vehicle do in VIP works? Honestly, I kind of saw this one doing best in Headhunter, and something like Hostile Takeover could be another good option as well. In fact, Hostile Takeover might be a better option just because I don't think there's anywhere near as much enemies you have to deal with on Hostile Takeover. Now when you kind of get to choose the location as well. On Headhunter, the enemies have like pretty ridiculous accuracy. They have some pretty pinpoint accuracy. Not the worst pinpoint accuracy in the game, but they have more accuracy than like other NPCs, I believe, in other circumstances, like things like contact missions, of course. So it's going to be kind of difficult to make money with this vehicle doing headhunters, but still, I would say it's kind of the best VIP work option there is for it. So that's kind of why I recommend contact missions over VIP works when it comes to making money with this vehicle, but still, there's no doubt, of course, there's way more vehicles that's much easier to make money with. So isn't going to really be a vehicle to make money with, sadly, but still. Regardless, I think I proved my point on like the VIP works, so back to the pros and cons list. And the next pro is it has a very comparable lap time with a regular counterpart. I believe that's one I already kind of went into. So I decided to just mention that one and I'll move on to the next one. Next one I have is it can be a quote-unquote rare vehicle. Not as much as like other vehicles have been in the past, where you have to actually like go to certain locations and stuff and you can't like buy them on a website. This one you just have to complete like the 6 casino story missions. But because that could be kind of a tedious task for most people, especially because those missions might be some of, if not like the hardest contact missions in the game, a lot of people might not actually have that vehicle. So unless they like put it on the website in the future for any reason, which I wouldn't entirely doubt that they would put in the like Legendary Motorsports in the future with the regular Paragon R, maybe in like a future DLC. And for now, it's kind of actually a rare vehicle, but nowhere near as much as with like other vehicles, of course. But yeah, next pro I have is it has machine guns, which of course the regular variant does not, even though they kind of could have, because they've done like regular-ish vehicles with machine guns in the past, like I mentioned, like the Sylvester, the Viserys, and the Revolter from like the Doomsday Heist. Speaking of the machine guns, next pro I have is that the machine guns are okay. Like, yeah, the quality on the machine guns are nowhere near the best, I would say, in the game. But just the fact it has the machine guns again makes it more of a pro than a con, obviously. Next pro I have is it comes with machine guns. So no, you do not need to add the machine guns with customization. It actually comes with its stock when you like first get the vehicle at the docks or whatever, or wherever it spawns when you complete all 6 of the casino story missions. I believe you have to do that as host as well, by the way. But yeah, next pro I have is it has slight bullet and explosive resistance. Now, when I mean bullet resistant, I mean like the glass, not the like actual vehicle. I've shown with the minigun test that it's very like regular when it comes to the damage it takes when shooting at the vehicle. It could have simply been because I was shooting the engine area, but still there wasn't really much of a more logical area to shoot the vehicle with in the minigun test. And then yeah, explosion resistant. It can take like 1 RPG and then like 4 explosive sniper shots before the second RPG or the 5th explosive sniper round destroys it. And I did test it with the homing launcher, and I recall it being exactly the same for regular and homing launcher, unlike with other vehicles in the game. Next pro I have is it has bullet resistant glass, of course, as I've shown off earlier. With a combat pistol, for example, I believe it takes a full magazine with it in order to shatter the window. And that's for the front, side, and back windows, I'm very sure. Next pro I have is the unlocking it can come with awards, of course, as I mentioned. Which I might have had in the pro and con list, but I think I worded it differently, so I might have had different intent with it, but still, there is awards in relation to this vehicle, kind of. Which you can't really say much for any other kind of vehicles in the game much, from what I recall at least. Next pro I have is it's able to be used in passive mode, which is really weird because I believe it's the previous update that I've seen on Resort DLC where they made it where most weaponized vehicles can be used in passive mode. Like yeah, there's so many machine guns, but still, it's technically still a weaponized vehicle, so it's kind of shocking you can even go in passive mode with it. Obviously not much of a game changer, but having an option can be nice, of course. Next pro I have is it can be the most free vehicle in the game, especially one that has like awards worth 1.1, 1.2 million that you can put for like all its customizations. I don't think there's ever been much more of a like free vehicle they've ever done, and most other free vehicles they only do for like a day, and you have to log in on like the exact day. This one's more of a like permanent free vehicle. But finally onto the cons of the Paragon R. First con I have is it performs slightly worse than a regular counterpart, being 1 placement less than lap time, and of course like 7 or 8 less than top speed, as I've mentioned before. Next con I have is it's not raceable in most or all races. If anything, it's maybe only raceable in like transform races, but even then probably not those as well, because they probably haven't like updated that creator or whatever for a while. Next con I have is it requires a casino penthouse. Unlike the regular vehicle, you do need a casino penthouse, as that's how you like unlock the ability to do the like different casino story missions, of course. On to the next con of the Armored Paragon R, of course, is it requires completion of the 6 casino story missions as a host, which, as I mentioned before, is quite a time investment, I would say, especially when the casino story missions are some of, if not, like, the most hardest contact missions in the game, as I've mentioned before. But yeah, next con I have for the vehicle is it cannot be bought, so you can't, like, get the vehicle in a way that's not going to be a huge time investment, sadly. But who knows, like I mentioned, in the future they might make it purchasable as like more DLCs pass or something like that, as I believe they might have done with other vehicles before. Whether it's like adding like new trade prices to them with like the heist vehicles, for example, where you previously had to like do heist setups and like heist finales for them, for example. But yeah, next con I have is it does not have missiles. Now this can already arguably be the best armored vehicle in the game. It didn't even need missiles to become like the best like armored vehicle in the 2015-2016 kind of style armored vehicles from like Executive Ever Criminals and like the Finance Felony update. Like I mentioned, it's very comparable to those. Just having machine guns alone kind of makes it the best option, because those vehicles from the past, you had to use like your own weapons. They didn't have weapons of their own. So yeah, it can kind of arguably be the best armored vehicle. Like, in most circumstances, besides for like performance, maybe the Chapter V12 armored might be better than this one still, or like a performance kind of situation. But still, it definitely could have used missiles, like, even if it were like weaponized Tampa missiles where it can't like lock on to vehicles and there's like 30 of them. At least that would have made the vehicle a lot more useful. So yeah, that's definitely a very big con, is that there's no missiles on the vehicle whatsoever. I definitely think it would give the vehicle a lot more potential even than what it already has just with the machine guns alone. Yeah, next con I have is that the bullet resistant glass only takes 15 to 16 bullets, and that's at least with a combat pistol. Of course, it could be kind of different depending on the weapon you use, but still, easily within like a single magazine, no matter what you use, for the most part, unless it's like a single shot weapon like a marksman pistol, you're pretty much going to easily break through the glass of the bullet. Yeah, you're easily going to break through the bullet resistant glass of this armored vehicle, as well as other armored vehicles in this style of the like 2015-2016 finance felony executive or criminal kind of style, as I've mentioned before. But yeah, the final con I have for this vehicle is it only survives a single explosive. When you're kind of trading bullet resistant for explosive resistant, just taking one single explosive is kind of bad, I would say, to be honest. And that's the issue with all those type of style armored vehicles, which again is 2015-2016 kind of armored vehicles from like executive or criminals and like finance and felony. Like I mentioned, it's most comparable to those. That's an issue with all those kind of vehicles, including this one. Having one like thing of explosive resistance and losing like bullet resistance because of and not having good like bullet resistance, for example like the armored Kuruma, is quite a big deal. I would at least expect to be able to take a couple, maybe a few explosives, especially in like 2019 when this vehicle came out, where there has been a lot more like crazy additions in the game since. But maybe they didn't want to release a very overpowered vehicle in the game for any reason, which if that's the case then I guess that's fine. But still, at least this vehicle had missiles, going back to one of the previous cons. It wouldn't have really been overpowered, especially if they didn't lock on and they were like weaponized Tampa missiles. It would just give the vehicle a lot more potential, it wouldn't make it overpowered or anything. But yeah, that's all the pros and cons for both vehicles that I had for this review. So that's finally going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed.